So while we're actually talking about the more specifics, I'm going to jump back to the account page here and go to the manage page, because I wanted to point out something I didn't earlier, which is for those that are not sure about, obviously there's a lot of rows, there's a lot of columns on this table, and if you're not sure what gives credit, the quick reference guide, which you can find on the program minimums page, is going to tell you exactly what is required. So, for example, we were looking at Table 3, and a lot of information here, so I apologize for the scrolling. So perfect. So Table 3, and we were talking about respiratory. So respiratory impression or smoke inhalation impression or choking complaint or breathing problem complaint on a patient in a locked lab shift. So that's the other piece that I did not do yet, which is to actually lock this shift. So let's say the student has entered this information, they've filled out the skills that they've done, they marked their transportation if necessary, they filled out their narrative, and then when they're all finished, they will lock the shift. And once we lock it, yep, that's fine. And that is locked now, so we can head back to the report and run it, and we'll see those various changes made. So let me pull up individual and select Michael Scott. Go. And again, while that's going, I'll just talk about some of the other pieces. As an instructor, if you have the edit lab permission, then you can go back into a shift and make changes, even if it's locked. So as you can see, we're still able to come in here. If you didn't have that permission to edit lab shifts, or if a student tries to go into a locked lab shift, it'll take them directly to the detailed shift report, which looks like this, where they can see the information that was entered, and they can see all that, but they can't actually make any changes to it. So now that that's run, great. So I'm going to skip that. So now, great. So we see in obtain a patient history, because we entered a live patient that was formative, we now have, and we did the patient history, we have a 1 in column 2, and now we have 2 in column 3. For those who had noticed, I didn't actually point out, but there was a 1 already in columns 2 and the 3 and 4, so now the 3 has gone up to 2. If we come down to our Table 3, respiratory distress on an adult patient is now showing a 1, which again, they were team lead and they had the respiratory and it was locked. So that all matches for Table 3. And then we didn't enter any skills, so Table 4 was not changed. But let's say, if they had entered any skills, so for example, the glucometer, if they'd done that, it would have tracked here. So just as a sort of quick refresh, because I know we're winding down, I want to leave some time for questions. But the quick rundown of where things are coming from lab, it's going to be Table 2. The first column is using the lab skills that are set up in the Appendix G settings. Table 3 is using a lab patient of any type, as long as it's marked as formative. Column 3, sorry, I said Table 3. Column 2 of Table 2 is any lab patient marked as formative. Column 3 is any live patient in lab, clinical, or field. And if it's in lab, it can be marked as either formative or summative. So essentially, any live patient that they enter on any shift will track on column 3. And column 4 is live patient in clinical or field, or a summative patient in lab. So there, once again, there can be crossover between the different columns here. Table 3 is entirely using labs patients of any patient type. Again, scenarios means lab patient of any type in FysDap now. And the first section is team leader. So if they check team leader, it'll go there. Second section is team member. So if they don't check team leader, it'll track in this section if they're entering a lab patient of any patient type. And then finally, Table 4 is going to be using lab skills for column 1. Like that, again, you guys will set up in the settings section. And then the scenario skills will be using the any patient type in lab, as long as the skills, again, line up with this. The one last thing I want to point out with the sections that use lab skills, so Table 4, column 1, and Table 2, column 1, These can be instructor sign-off or peer sign-off. Either one will work, and it'll get you set up with whatever you need. One last thing to just speak, not necessarily directly to Appendix G, but I wanted to come back to the lab section here. In addition to the entering lab skills and entering a patient, you can also add attachments, as any regular shift can have, and then you can also do the shift evals. So by default, we have shift evals for lab setup as the site evaluation and the simulation form. This can be changed, but it does require a FISDEP staff member to make a change to it. So if you have a eval you want to use in lab, or if you want to use one of the ones from clinical or field that are in the shift eval section and add it to lab, we can absolutely do that. Just send support@fisdep.net an email, or give us a call at 651-690-9241. We're going to have that information up at the end here. So we can definitely make that change for you.